All right, so we'll just acknowledge the fact that we had no sound at the beginning and we'll just move forward from there. So we'll go on to 10.1, repeal Councillor Code of Conduct Procedure. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 repeal the Maranoa Regional Council Councillor Code of Conduct Procedure adopted on 13th of April 2016, resolution number GM/04.2016/18. 2, receive and acknowledge the Queensland Government's Code of Conduct for Councillors in Queensland, which sets out the standards of behaviour for councillors in performing their duties as councillors.
I have a seconder. Councillor Vincent, would you like to speak, councillor?
No, thanks.
Anybody like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. 10.2, Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, 2025 National General Assembly motion submission. Do I have a mover? Councillor Seawright.
I'm happy to move that Council endorse the following motions for submissions to the Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, 2025 National General Assembly. Disaster Management Funding, Colvin Review, no cost shifting onto our local government, and addressing the variable funding percentage eligibility within a local government area. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to submit the endorsed motions to the Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, before the 31st of March 2025 deadline.
Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor O'Neill, would you like to speak, councillor?
Just briefly, the disaster management funding, the Colvin Review, it's basically, and I'm sure Councillor O'Neill will probably put some more context into it, but it's just ensuring that, again, as the resolution states, that they don't cost shift onto local government to actually wear the costs. That should be actually worn by state at this point. We wear a lot of the costs ourselves anyway, so we don't need any of that extra cost shifting. And the variable funding percentage, I'm not quite sure with that one, but I'm pretty sure anyone else who wants to jump in and help me with that one, that'll be fine.
The variable funding is when we go for grants. Roma
yes.
might be 80-20, whereas Mitchell might be, Roma might be 50-50, whereas Mitchell might be 80-20, but it's the same bucket.
Yep, that's right. Thanks
we
for the
just
reminder.
want it to be the same. Well, we actually don't want to give any, but if we have to, we want it to be as little as possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody against? Anybody else like to speak? Councillor O'Neill, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'll speak in favour. Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I support both of these. Two very important issues, particularly the variable funding. I think there's an anomaly here that needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed quickly. Maranoa Regional Council is not the only council that is impacted by this variable funding percentage model that some grants use, but it does mean that in essence you can pit communities within our local government against each other because one receives a higher percentage from federal grants than the other. That's unfair. It needs to be equal at the end of the day, the contribution that the Maranoa Regional Council provides to any funding grant is borne largely by the rate base, and it's the same rate payers whether they reside in one of the smaller areas of the Shire or one of the more densely populated areas of the Shire. So I think raising this at Canberra in June at the Australian Local Government Association, I think, is really important, and I know councils, particularly from Queensland and particularly in regional Queensland, will back us in advocating that there needs to be a relook at this and needs to be more fair and equitable. In terms of the disaster management funding, again, I think we will get strong support across regional Queensland. We don't want more cost shifting put onto local government. We carry a fair burden than what councils did 20 years ago. And when it comes to disasters, we need the state and the Commonwealth to be stepping up and supporting us, strongly with resources and funding to come out of the back end of any disasters that we may experience. I think this is really important that we're providing a couple of motions to be considered at the National Assembly. This is the vehicle where we get a very large platform nationally to put on the table some of the issues that are bubbling for us. And so I welcome council considering this today and wholeheartedly support the recommendations put forward for motions to be considered at ALGA in June.
Would anybody else like to speak? Would you like to sum up, councillor?
I'd just briefly thank Councillor O'Neill for his input. And again, it is the perfect opportunity to submit this versus our earlier submissions with our local government in Queensland. But this one takes it, straight through to National Assembly. And as Councillor O'Neill pointed out, it's really important that we address these or try to address these issues and highlight these issues. And I'm pretty sure we won't be only some of the only ones who put these submissions forward.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. 10.3, request to consider recognition and signage at Kissinger's flat. Councillor Brompton. Yep.
I wish to declare a conflict on item 10.3, request to consider recognition and signage Keiseker's flat. The declaring councillor is myself, the person with the interest is myself. Particulars, I'm a direct descendant of the Keiseker family and the co-instigator of the request under consideration regarding Keiseker's flat. It's a prescribed conflict of interest and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Brompton has left the room. Do I have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 receive and note the request for formal recognition of Keiseker's flat, acknowledging its historical significance and association with the Keiseker family. 2, approve in principle the installation of the historical signage at Keiseker's flat, subject to further consultation as outlined in point 3 below. 3, engage the Roma History Lodge to discuss the historical significance of Keiseker's flat, gather additional historical insights and seek input on the design, wording and placement based on option 1, 2 and 3. 4, provide an update on the applicants advising them of Council's consideration of their request, the engagement process with the Roma History Lodge and the next steps in determining the preferred approach for formal recognition.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Flynn, would you like to speak, councillor?
Just to say that it's good that we acknowledge the history of any area, and it's great that this has been brought forward to recognise their descendants, and look forward to seeing it come to fruition.
Anyone like to speak against? Anyone else like to speak for? Councillor
I'd
Flynn?
like to speak for the motion, probably in the fact that I played most of my sporting life from the 1960s onward on the ovals at the Keiseker's flat, and certainly have an interest down there at the moment with regard to the Roma District Cricket Association and the Roma Echidnas at Gallus Fox Park. So I think this is this project is well worth council following up on, and I think that given the fact that we are in the process or have recently passed to have an upgrade of the set down area near the toilets and near the second oval, that we would attempt to put that signage somewhere in that area when the project has been upgraded.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Councillor Brompton is back. 11.1, monthly financial report as at the 28th of February 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Brompton.
I move that council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ended 28th of February 2025.
I have a seconder. Councillor Davis. Would you like to speak, councillor?
Yes, I do have some. I had asked some questions of this, so I might ask the Director of Corporate Services or others to respond to some of this. We've been working on the wording of this, and we're still not quite there in terms of ease of reading and where we're at. If you look in the forecast, in the results bit, it talks about a year-to-date operating result against the budget, and we don't have a column that has the budget year to date. So I have asked that in future we receive a column that has the budget year to date in it, so you can see where the comparison is actually occurring. And I don't think there'll be a problem in getting that, will it, Director? So just to make it easier, and also under the forecast heading on the first page, it talks about Q2, and it's a bit confusing. And the Q2 revised budgeted annual operating forecast was a deficit of $5.3 million. And then the bottom line of that page should then follow on. It says, but at this point, the forecast operating result is a deficit of 5.5. So that's a change of 200,000 of the forecast operating deficit, which is still less than what our original forecast operating deficit was. But just, we're trying to just make this a little bit clearer for people. So we're going to continue to work on this. And I recognise there's some manual work to be done around this. And hopefully next year we'll have a better format that'll make it easier. I do have a question though, on the flood, Event 13 flood restoration and Event 15 and 16 flood restoration. On, my pages aren't numbered, no. So
63.
After the first table, it goes into Event 13 flood and then Event 15 and 16, and then after the little table it says submissions currently under assessment for 10.04 million. Which event is that for? Is that 15 and 16, or is that relate to the 13 one?
Through the chair, so that relates to event 15 and 16. So essentially what it's saying is there's 47.75 million that's been submitted and approved, and then there's 10 million submitted but undergoing assessment. So really easy maths, probably 58 million dollars would be the combined value that we're estimating for
Okay.
that program. So but thanks for the comment, and I'll just make sure
Yeah,
that sort of clarity in the future.
Yeah. And I'll leave the airport question for the Mayor.
I've already got the answer.
I've got a couple of questions in the attachment as well, but I don't know whether we'll go to questions. I mean, I've moved, but will I continue with a couple of questions?
Yeah.
And I'm sure others will have questions as well. On the waste one, which is page 10 of attachment 1, the first line of the fees and charges says 215k lower revenue due to refuse disposal fee Roma. What does that mean? Does it mean we're getting less fees, or there's a fee outstanding, or why is that commentary there? Sorry, just listening to that. Do you want me to rephrase, ask that again?
If you don't mind, please.
In the waste business unit, in the fees and charges line, it says 215k lower revenue due to refuse disposal fee Roma. I was just trying to ascertain, is that because there's money outstanding, or there's less disposals, or what is the issue there?
Less disposals, but I'll probably take that on notice and bring some more detail back to you if that's all right, Councillor Brunton.
Because it's a fair bit difference. Why would suddenly we have much less happening? It's a huge reduction.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose it probably reflects the entire...
So it probably reflects the entire waste portfolio at the moment, where there is such a change, around the levy and a way that around we're processing waste, but also things like containers for change. So it is based on, estimates that we've, I suppose, forecast, but I will certainly come back and get some more detail around that for you. I'm not going to profess to have the exact answer at this moment. Yep.
Okay, sorry. And I've got one more, which is on water. In the materials and service, it's just highlighting that we probably need to know as part of our budget builds how much water infrastructure needs, because it's quite concerning to see mains maintenance costs have increased this year, more breaks and issues increasing materials and service. The network is getting older, end of life, and we need an accelerated renewal program to catch up. So just wondering, hopefully we're going to see that in the budget build, and we've got something to address that, and what our reserves are for water, and whether they'll cover that sort of issue.
You're right. Anyone else got any questions?
Just
Councillor Flynn.
something that I'm not totally understanding out of the report. We're looking at the current budget, 24-25, of a deficit of 5.3, as Councillor Brumpton mentioned, but then our year-to-date actuals in February are showing a surplus of 5.5 million. I just don't understand how that finishes up with if we continue on that track, how do we finish with a deficit budget? Because we've got a surplus at the end of February.
Through the chair, what you're seeing there at the moment is the year to date. So, for example, we've recognised all the rates that have been levied for the period. So you'll see the incomes certainly at a particular level, and then through the course of the remainder of the year, we'll continue to consume the materials and services, and the depreciation will continue to be, I guess, accrued. So it's a point in time. So at the end of February, that's what the result is. And I guess what you're seeing is the lumpiness of income and expense. So as the income's high at the moment, it's showing comparatively against year to date, if you like. It's higher, and then our expenses are lower, so you end up with a surplus at the moment. And so as the rest of the year continues, and we continue to have more materials and services, but the income doesn't really change considerably because we've already levied the rates, you'll see that gap closer and closer until eventually it ends up in a deficit position.
So what you're saying is that even though we haven't received the rates
Correct.
in February, we've indicated that we are going to receive them.
Well, the statements are based on accounting principles, so it's very much when we levy the rates, that's when we have control of the income technically. The cash is a separate, I guess, issue completely, and that's that the rates team doing and the revenue team doing their work in behind the scenes to do that debt collection activity, which you don't necessarily see that in here.
Okay. And I suppose you mentioned depreciation. Why in our budgeting are we, and I might be wrong here in this question, but why in our budgeting aren't we budgeting depreciation on a monthly basis or on a report basis? Well, you mentioned the fact that depreciation will increase as we get towards the end of the financial year.
So you can see at the moment the depreciation is around 17 million, which is it proportionately across the year. So it's effectively spread 1/12. So every month there's a portion of depreciation is charged. So you'll see that grow over the course of the year as we get towards the end of the year, more towards what you would expect to see based on what you're seeing in the forecast. So back towards 24 million. So at the moment it's 17 million and it'll grow to 24. So it is exactly what you're saying. It is actually doing. It's actually being spread, and it'll just get larger as the course of the year goes on, as we recognise the consumption of our assets. So probably made that a bit confusing, have I, Councillor?
No, I guess things like Primaries Road and those sort of assets come in
That's right.
to our...
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly right, yeah. So you'll start to see the change in the depreciation against the adopted budget. That's when you start to see as we get new assets. But then we'll also be writing off the old ones that we no longer have. In
We
primaries,
had
it's a
some
different...
revaluations too, didn't we? That was part of it in the commentary. It said that increased the
We're
cost compared to budget.
currently doing a revaluation on our facilities and land and other assets anyway. So you'll see when we reach the end of the year, you'll see a realignment to match whatever that revaluation is coming out.
Councillor Brumter, can I just ask the question you asked before about another column? What did you want in that column?
No, I didn't ask the question
that was
about
me,
another column.
No,
I did
just
say. Yeah.
couldn't reconcile column 3 with column 2.
Yeah, okay.
I've asked for a column of year-to-date budget. We've got
not the current
we've got
budget.
the current budget, which
You
is the
want the
full year
year-to-date.
budget, but
Yeah.
I want year-to-date
Yeah.
budget so you can compare year-to-date actual with year-to-date budget.
I'm sorry, I just missed what you said.
Yeah.
That's fine, thank you. Has anybody else got any questions?
Just on that year to date, just Councillor Brumpton, there's a percentage.
No, a figure, because we're talking
Figure.
figures in the commentary, so it would be good to see the figure to
Yeah.
compare.
And it would be good to be able to compare February 25 to February 24.
24, which,
No, we can
still
do
be
that.
able to do that, yeah.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I just have some questions around gas. With the most concerning to me is all the red dots in the table, and as a unit of council, the estimated budget for just employee costs is 142% year-to-date actuals. I can see that blowing out to nearly 200%. I'd like to understand how gas is actually resourced and staffed, and if there's the ability for sewerage, which as a business unit is doing quite well, is there an opportunity to have those employees' costs there?
It doesn't look real good, does it? With
No,
all those red
and
dots?
especially when we did quite a bit of work making sure that, you know, what the organisation needed to run and what the employee costs were, and to see that it's that percentage is quite concerning.
You're just going to take that on?
Yeah, well, I think the solution to that one is to certainly find a bit of info for you. But I guess I'm assuming that what we've got is there's it's one team, and so we've done a budget based on what we expect, and something's different happening. So the same team members are probably working more in gas instead of working in water, for example. Or you know, that'll be what I'm expecting is occurring, but we'll find out for sure.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? My BP question was answered the other day. I did ask, and apparently we're 1 month away from that. So I won't ask it today because I know it's working towards, which should be nearly at the end. So we're all good. I did have a mover and a seconder. Nobody's got any other questions? You right there, Councillor O'Neill?
Yes, I am.
All right. With that, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, did you want to speak? I was going to say.
I think I've said enough.
Did we do that? Nobody wants to speak? We're all good? Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. It's a bit confusing. 12.1, Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund 2024-25 Round 2, consideration of project nominations. Councillor Vincent.
I'd just like to declare a conflict of interest on item 12.1, Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund 2024-25 Round 2, consideration of project nominations. The declaring councillor is myself. I have a close association with Matthew Biggood. Matthew is president of the Injune Cricket Club, which is mentioned in the report. It is a prescribed conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent is leaving the room. Do I have a mover? Councillor Flynn.
Yes, I'll move that Council 1 apply for funding under the Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund 2024-25 Round 2 for the following projects. 1, construct a veranda on Injune Cricket Club clubhouse. B, renewal of practice surface at Surat Community Cricket Nets. And 2, commit to contributing $7,500 and $3,750 respectively in council co-funding for these projects. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign funding agreement and any other necessary documentation if successful.
I have a seconder. Councillor Burkett, would you like to speak, Councillor?
I'd just like to raise 2 questions before I actually speak to the motion. With item B, very much in favour of having Surat have their practice surface redone, but I do believe at the moment that possibly the Australian Cricket Infrastructure Grant is not suitable for Surat, simply because of the fact that they are not an affiliated body. The club, there's no Surat Cricket Club as per such. It's affiliated with the Roma and District Cricket Association. So I'm not totally sure that we can expect to get that grant, and
Do we know
perhaps
if we've
it's...
looked into that?
So went through
Mayor, when we applied for it in the round one, it was unsuccessful. However, they didn't say it was uneligible. So we might just seek some guidance before we put that application in again. On their guidelines, it says that councils with a role as a user or manager of a community cricket facility are eligible to apply. So if we are the facility owner of that area, hopefully we can, but we will seek guidance before we put that application in again.
And can I just make a comment there? I think community actually relates to the lower level of cricket, like the regional community, not actual community as in the Surat community, but I may be wrong with that.
Sure.
And the other one, no idea as to where these funds might be available from budget-wise.
Yeah.
So with that one, Georgie, there, the applications, when do they, when is it going to be delivered by? Is it this current financial year or is it next financial year?
It'll be next financial year. So closing date is in April. We probably won't know until June or so, July, so the next financial year.
Resolution to
Yeah.
for next to be
I'll just-
considered as a
Consider for the
24-25.
budget.
We'll
bill.
pop it
Yeah,
in
but I'm
25.
wary of that because we're going through the process with the Roma grant at the moment where we haven't got the money in the budget to support the grant.
So that's the round one.
Round one's coming out of Capital Works, 2024-25.
Round one.
Correct,
This is
yeah.
round two.
I know, we've got a round one grant sitting at the
Successful.
moment, yeah.
Okay, so
That's why I brought up the budget question.
Yeah, Councillor was just saying we were successful there last year. We got a contribution on that. But George, you might just want to take one notice, send an email out to the councillors on that round one.
Yep.
And our contribution on there where that's been allocated to. But
Sure.
For this one, for round two, just that point two, we're going to have to reword that commitment of that 7.5 and that 3750 because it's going to be 25, 26 budget consideration.
Sure. Yep.
So do we want to change the resolution?
We'll need to
Yeah,
change
if I
point
can change the wording, commit to contributing 7,500 and 3,700 respectively in council funding as co-contribution for these projects to be considered in the 25-26 budget deliberations.
Are they considered or?
To be included?
Yeah.
Because we said
If
commit,
successful.
If we're going to commit, we'll have to commit.
Include, right?
yeah,
Yep.
to be included rather than considered. Yeah.
Successful. If successful.
Yeah, if successful.
It's still deliberation,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just with notification, sorry, councillors, when did you say we find out for that one?
June.
Applications close April, so would imagine May, June sort of
Okay,
outcomes.
so there's a chance we'll probably know before budget comes down whether we need to include it.
So we'll pop it in there and then,
Yeah.
once we get
Yep.
close to budget finalisation,
Yeah.
we can either take it in or
Yep.
take it out.
Oh, good. Would you like to speak, councillor? Have you got a question?
No,
No, you're right.
I'm happy
Yep.
with the change.
Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep.
I think I've
I've got a
discussed
question.
everything, so I'm not,
Oh. Yes, councillor O'Neill?
Just in light of what was just shared in terms of timing, if this is going to be likely to have been awarded by the end of the financial year, then we need to allocate a contribution from the budget now.
Are we sure it'll be June?
I wouldn't say so. Round one closed August and we just heard in February.
yeah, there was definitely a 3-month gap
Yeah.
for when the applications closed and when the successful applicants were advised, yeah.
Yeah. Not 100% sure it'll be June, councillor?
But if it is, if there is a chance that it is, then wouldn't it? We probably need to commit that 7,500 and 3,750 in quarter
Four.
3. 4. No, we haven't done quarter 3, have we?
No.
Be
No,
quarter
we
quarter
haven't.
4. wouldn't it?
We could do it in our review.
We
if
could do
need
the
to,
Q-
couldn't we? In our budget
Yeah.
review.
Q3. I mean, we won't be delivering the project councils until the 25, 26, but as the Deputy Mayor said, you could say it included part of the Q3 review, budget review.
Yeah.
We
So
still
we'll
it's part of that, I
update.
think. If you're happy with that, councillor.
Just thinking,
Q3 review.
just thinking about that, if we do it at the Q3, but we haven't been told, how do we then ensure that we're committing it for next year's budget? So I just wonder if we leave that, and if it does come in earlier, we just deal with it then. We can repeal, we can put it forward, we can,
Or do we do it now and roll it over if we haven't heard?
well, there's
back?
no commitment then, but unless you put it in this email, because we're just saying then,
Yeah.
unless we commit it to 2 budgets, but I don't know. Have you got a suggestion, Officer Cindy?
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, chances are we're not going to deliver in 24, 25, this current financial year. So if we include a budget 24, 25, yeah, the carryover process, yeah.
Yeah, we're still
We
committing to
would
the
normally
project.
just carry over, but I think that process changed a little bit.
Process,
Currently.
yeah, we're looking to tighten that process up. So unless there is actually a contract in place, we've actually started. I mean, if there was a funding agreement in place, I'd say no problem. But we're not going to be anywhere near a funding agreement even in place by 30 June, I would suggest. In which case, I think it's probably more appropriate to have it in the next budget deliberations as opposed to this one. But
I'm prepared to leave it as the 25-26 budget because I don't believe that we'll be looking at it in this financial year.
I think it makes sense.
Well, people are confident that's fine with me.
Okay, Councillor Davis?
I just had one question, please, Officer Georgie. This was unsuccessful in the previous. Have we received feedback to update our application?
Through your chair, we haven't sought feedback, but it didn't say it was uneligible. It just didn't hit. Looking at the guidelines, we'll probably just look at it a bit closer. And now that we were successful for one grant, we have a relationship with the cricket infrastructure manager. So I'll just give him a call and see whether if he can provide some information as before we put this application in again.
Thank you.
If I can just answer that, Injune didn't get their application for round 1 grants in on time. It didn't go in.
That wasn't my question about Injune.
Pardon?
That wasn't my question.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Flynn, would you like to speak?
Mayor, I've just got one other point if I can. Sorry, Councillor Flynn.
Yep.
Just in light of the conversation, point 2 would need to read, commit to contributing that said money respectively in council funding as co-contribution for these projects in the 25-26 budget, full stop, if successful.
Yeah.
We're not going to deliberate them across the budget, development process if we've committed to funding it if the application's successful.
Yeah.
It just tidies it up.
You happy with that, councillor?
Yep.
Council? Right. All right. Would you like to speak now, Councillor Flynn?
No, thanks.
Well, we've taken the air right out of it.
Yeah, I think we've actually covered everything.
You're right. Anyone like to speak? No? We're all good? All right, let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0.
Thanks, Josie. Thanks, Cindy.
Councillor Vincent is back in the room. 12.2, Roma History Lodge Building and Maintenance. I have a mover, Councillor Brumpton.
I move that council consider additional funding in the 25-26 budget for further works to the Roma History Lodge totalling $28,800 including GST as per estimate of costs provided.
Seconder, Councillor Searoy.
I have a question.
Councillor Hancock has a question.
Yep, thanks. Through the Mayor. I'm just wondering, have we suggested for the Roma History Lodge to consider applying for community grants for some of these projects?
Come down, you're right.
You just need to speak, in the mic.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Mayor, if I may, that's how it all started. It was a grant to start with to improve the facilities down there at the Historic Society. But we haven't spoken about another grant to finish off what was started.
So some of the works was under a grant, and this is what's left.
Madam Mayor, the original works undertaken down there by the builder they engaged was under a grant. So that they had a grant to build in a deck between the historic building and their storage shed.
Oh, yeah.
And they did that, and during the construction things changed, and they changed a few things around, and it had some implications with regards to certification that have since cost extra money, and obviously they didn't have it because they only had their grant, and there's been some trouble with the builder they engaged not wanting to come back to site.
Just in the council report, it actually says, it doesn't say it was a community grant, it just says council endorsed rectification works to the accessible bathroom as part of the council's overall obligation to the value of 15,000 drawn from the capital works program.
That was the repair works that we undertook to fix up the accessible bathroom. It started out, I think about 6 years ago, as they received a grant. I'm not sure who from, and were given permission to upgrade the building, and it sort of slipped through the cracks with regard to who was looking after it or overseeing the construction. It certainly wasn't a job for us, and that they changed from the plan. The plan that was certified is now different to what has been constructed, and we had to go in. They put a bathroom in and called it accessible, and it missed the mark and couldn't get certified. And the $15,000, I think it was, that was given to us, we fixed up the bathroom and got it compliant for the ladies, so they had a usable facility.
Well, yeah, and it went over budget to 1960. I guess my point I would, if Councillor Brompton would consider, is number 2, that I don't have a problem with considering it as a project in the next budget, but can we work with the Roma History Lodge to apply for available grants?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I guess it's while they're waiting.
It's open now, isn't it?
Community grants is open right now. Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor, just on reflection, with the current resolution in front of you and your comments you just making about next year's budget, we are in the middle of a process where staff are currently putting together business cases for the capital projects, and this will, whilst we haven't drafted one, in part to see what appetite was today, nonetheless, there's a whole range of requests for a whole range of facilities that we administer or own, and I guess to some extent today, if you were of a mind, you may not have to necessarily endorse the consideration. You could simply note the request from the History Lodge. You could ask us to continue to work with them in relation to the grants, and that this be one of the project business cases that's put forward that you as councils will need to consider for all of the capital requests in the 25-26 budget.
That sounds like a great plan.
I was sort of wondering why it came out of the budget, because we're working on a budget process for these anyway. I suppose there's one point though. The previous resolution of council was that if more funding is required, a report be brought back to a council at a future meeting. So they actually are doing what was asked of them in the previous resolution in one respect. Yeah.
I could, subject to any more comment or direction, but the alternate, Mayor, is that we could simply lay it on the table. I'll go and draft some new resolution that might be of what you'd like to consider, depending on whether you want to land it now. That's all.
Councillors there too. Obviously, the letter is a result of conversation the Mayor and myself had with the President of the group. We went to a cemetery meeting over in Mitchell there about a month and a half ago, and obviously with budget coming up, they said obviously council facility, council building Had some maintenance work required there, and they were just encouraged to put it in writing as well too, just to as part of the budget deliberations too. So hence the letter coming in. So they were asked to put it.
Is there a second letter, Rob? Because the letter in the report is dated the 20th of November 2024.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's when we received it. It's dated the 16th of November.
Yeah. So there's an email. There should be an email there from Deputy Mayor on that.
Is there? Have we got it?
No, there should be an email. I've got one from the president there. I'm sure it came in.
Okay.
Got that too. So.
Councillor Vincent?
I've just got a question in regards to the Maranoa glass and security section. Has that work, it hasn't been completed going by that, but we've engaged them. So is that going to occur before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Or so that will just come out of the Roma Local Directorate budget? Is that where that money's coming from, or?
I believe so, yes.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I was just wondering, with is that what council staff are doing, having a look at our facilities and kind of triaging, because I imagine there's lots, and around legislation, are they being prioritised as the top of these projects?
So certainly there's a template that's been provided or prepared that we're using, and within that template for the business case talks about, is it within the asset management plan, is there a legislative requirement? So there's criteria in which we're drafting that in the process that which we're due actually on last Friday. So essentially there'll be a review period through the finance team and ELT, and then council will see a whole range of things like we see every year, and there needs to be tough decisions. But fundamentally, yes, that across all the facilities are being looked at, and as said, the more maturity this year, I think, is that we with the asset management plan that's been undertaken to look across all of that, is that's certainly a key factor in relation to that. How we pick and choose some of those things will certainly be, something for everyone to consider. But I think fundamentally, though, is that given the budget that we want to look at, obviously the assets that we've currently have, and we need to maintain them. Building anything new will obviously potentially take a precedent over that. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, I've got some questions.
Yep, sorry.
Am I right?
Yes.
What did he say?
Is he right to go?
Right.
Yeah, yep.
Just to Dean or to Richie, just with the ramp, the ramp construction was that done by a builder engaged by the group?
If you don't mind, Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct.
And but the building's ours, and so we had no involvement at all in this project.
No, it certainly wasn't a project that there was a council officer supervising or managing. It was. My understanding is that, and this goes back possibly 6 or 7 years, that they were granted permission to undertake some improvements to the building via a grant, and it just got a little out of hand for them, managing a builder, expectations from their group, and they took one step too far, and it ended up there's some classification ramifications for them around PWD access and whatnot with the addition of the PWD bathroom and ramp.
Because it's quite a sizable cost to fix what was a positive project at the time, to have that all abilities access added to the building. I just wonder, Rob, going forward, should we be looking at whether it's a policy or some other language where works done on council facilities that are occupied by, third parties, that there has to be a step in there where council is involved to make sure it's done, correctly the first time, so that, that the monies that are spent on these types of things are appropriately administered, and it's for what was it intended and meets all the specifications, etc.
Yeah, so we can look at that, councillor. There, it's just, obviously there's progress associations with the showgrounds and the various ones that we do. We do have in those leases there, they've got to engage in any work. There is actually a clause in the actual leases with them there stating that any work done has to be approved by council and suitably qualified tradespeople used on there. But in terms of probably some of these other projects where they might need a bit of assistance because they are volunteers, we can probably do that. I do know that some of the showground ones, they just like to get on and get it done. They don't need council to hold a hand on that, but there's probably some groups that probably would appreciate that probably assistance.
And I see that was in the recommendation from when you did recommend any works undertaken in future on any council-owned buildings be project managed by council to ensure the works are completed and they comply with the Building Act.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and maybe it's just a clause in there to say, should you require assistance, we can do that. I know, like the Radio Association and those ones, they do like to get on and get it done, but we can add that step in to say, look, should you require assistance?
Should you require assistance is enough, because these people probably didn't realise at the time it was only retrospectively. There probably needs to be some sort of active.
I think all the works were undertaken in good faith. They found a builder that was willing to do the work and had offered to do it cheaply, and marrying up the group's expectations and what we expect as from a certification point of view and a safety point of view. They just missed the mark a bit, and I think, like you said, councillor, a lot of people probably wouldn't identify that going into the project. For some of us here, we'd look at the job and go, geez, that is a stretch of that budget. Yeah. Maybe we should consider something else. Yeah. But I think that's a valid point, that they get looked at.
So are we happy with the resolution?
I think, considering our discussion, it's probably still okay, Director Dean, because maybe we put the work with the Roma History Society Lodge as number one, because that's a current round, and then two, we can still consider it as part of the budget build process. Yeah. That is the normal process that we're going through. If everyone's happy with that, if we just change the order of those, because obviously the initial thing right now is to work with them to apply for a community grant. Or any grant that they can apply, any grant they're eligible for, and then as part of the budget build process, we'll consider funding. I think that's still okay.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Searoy? Yep.
I wonder, Mayor, can I just suggest, Councillor Brumpton, and I now see the paragraph you're talking about in Richie's report. I just wonder, would it be appropriate to add point 3, that council consider a further policy that addresses works undertaken in the future of any council owned, and the rest of what is written there. That way, we're indicating that we want staff to go away and come back with something that we can consider.
Yep, I'm happy to have that added. Consider a further policy that addresses works undertaken on council facilities to ensure they comply with the Building Act and appropriate standards.
We can do that, councillors. Yeah, I mean, like the previous report we had was for the Injune Cricket Club extensions to the veranda, and so it's probably something similar like that too. We can help out with as well. So that was only the report before. So
yeah. Councillor Searoy, are you happy with that?
Yep.
Would you like to speak, Councillor?
I don't think I need to speak. I think we've said it all through the course of the discussions.
Anyone like to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
14.1, Roma revealed trademark. Do I have a mover?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'll ask a question.
I have a question.
through you, Matt, I feel that we've talked about this before. I just, have we brought this to the table, might be not this term of council, but last term of council?
The last time we did something like this was the artesian spa.
Yes.
You know, with the trademark of something there, that I remember anyway.
I just
Yeah,
wonder.
I don't think we've addressed this before, Councillor Hancock.
Okay, I'm just wondering why we never did it to start with. Is there any history that you've been able to find out? Is there a reason why we haven't already done this?
Through the chair, a great question, and this is, I guess, being prompted by the trademarking of the artesian spa. I mean, it really is just bringing to council's attention that this is a logo that we're using that is currently could be used by anyone, and we have no way of stopping them legally. We still don't know. We still won't know until we go through the process, unfortunately. But I thought it's worthwhile bringing to council's attention that here is a small exposure, and worthwhile just putting it forward and seeing what council's appetite is to going forward with the recommendation. There's no guarantee that because it's Roma. I'm not quite sure, and I'm not a legal expert, not quite sure how. The argument might be you can't anything to do with a destination can't be trademarked because it's too broad. But I figured it's worth at least considering. If council doesn't, we've been using it long enough now. There's been no one come to me and say, oh, by the way, you haven't got a trademark. It was just being proactive and going forward.
Councillor Vincent?
Yeah, I'd like to move that Council 1 authorise the CEO or delegate to commence the process for trademarking Roma Revealed immediately. 2, register the Roma Revealed trademark in Class 16, Class 35 and Class 39 as outlined in Option 1 of this report. 3, draw the required funds of $8,600 plus GST from GL 2880.2001.2001 Economic and Community Development Materials and Services. 3, add the trademark once registered to our internal list of registered trademarks.
I have a seconder. Councillor Hancock, would you like to speak, Councillor? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, 4. Councillor Vincent, would you like to speak?
I'm going to support this today. It is just tidying up something that we've been using for a few years now. Yeah.
Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Hancock?
No, Councillor Becker, go.
Oh, sorry.
You choose, Mayor.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
I'm just going to support this today because I think the Roma Revealed logo and trademark has been highly successful for the whole Maranoa. And so it is really important that we tidy this up and that we can, if possible, own that trademark. And thanks for bringing it to the council's attention.
Councillor Burke.
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of it. Thanks to staff for showing the initiative to get this sorted out, because in the last term we had that issue with the artesian spa one, and it can sneak up on you, and you're sort of not blindsided, but it makes it hard to chase it after it's already bolted. So fully supportive.
Anyone else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. 14.2, applications through Regional Arts Development Fund, RADF Program 2024-25. Councillor Brompton.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on item 14.2, description applications through Regional Arts Development Fund, RADF Program 2024-25. The declaring councillor is myself. The person with the interest is myself. Particulars of the interest, although not mentioned in the report for the application from the Roma District Lapidary and Mineral Society Incorporated, I am actually the tutor for the Mosaic Workshop. Just for noting, I declared my conflict of interest to the committee and was not a party to any of their discussions regarding this application. It's a prescribed conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is being discussed.
Thank you. Councillor Brompton has left the room. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that council endorse the RADF Committee's grant assessment recommendations in supporting Creative Injune Inc. for $2,640 and Roma and District Lapidary and Mineral Society Inc. for $1,664.
Have a seconder. Councillor Davis, would you like to speak, Councillor?
just to say, great projects coming into our region, and, you know, supporting our arts and culture in our region. So, and welcome to the table.
I was just about to turn around and say
Oh,
to
sorry.
Neil, and then I realised it's not to Neil anymore. So welcome, Kim. And I too think, you know, especially now that we've opened it up, that it goes whenever anyone applies. It's made it so much better than before. So, yeah, hats off to them. Anyone else like to speak? We'll go to the vote.
I'll speak.
Yes, councillor.
I'm in favour of this. I just want to highlight, and Councillor Hancock, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first Roma and District Laboratory and Mineral Society project that we've seen, and I welcome that it is continuing to expand into other groups, and I think that's a good step. And clearly, the process of having this so that it's open all the time is working, and so I fully support it.
Okay, anyone else like to speak? You want to sum up? All good? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Thank you very much. Now we've got to Neil. Councillor Brompton is back. 14.4, concept design for the Injune Museum external wall. Councillor Vincent?
Have we missed one?
This one.
I missed one. Oh, sorry. Oh, I did too, sorry. Hang on, I'll just go back. 14.3, Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program 2024. Councillor Brompton.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the eligible applicants for the Maranoa Childcare Bursary
sorry.
Program.
I have a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I was too busy writing on my page.
Right. When you're ready,
I'd like to
councillor.
declare a conflict of interest on 14.4. Description is Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program 2024. Declaring council is Joanne Hancock. Person with interest is Anna K, we call her.
Okay,
Anna
good idea.
K. Particulars of interest, Anna is one of the recipients for the bursary. Anna is a partner of Craig Murray, who is a family friend. The type of conflict is declarable conflict of interest, and the action is, although I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do believe a reasonable person could have person could not have a perception of bias. I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias, therefore I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Anybody got words? Councillor Brompton.
I move that it is in the public interest that Councillor Hancock participates and votes on agenda item 14.4 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
Have a seconder, Councillor Vincent. All those in favour?
Point of order 14.3.
Oh, thank you. Just clarify, it's 14.3.
Yep, it is 14.3. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Who was going to start that off?
Councillor
Councillor Brompton, sorry.
I had a question. Go back to... I move that Council 1 approve the eligible applicants for the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program 2024. 2, send a letter to each successful applicant congratulating them and outlining the terms of reference for the bursary payment. 3, adopt the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Framework. And 4, run the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program for 2025, opening April 4th and closing April 25th, 2025.
Have a seconder. Councillor Vincent. Has anyone got any questions?
I have an amendment.
Sorry?
I would have an amendment if
Okay.
Councillor Brompton would consider. Just on point 4, Councillor Brompton, I'm just wondering if you would consider that the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program for 25-26 be included in the 25-26 budget deliberations. I'm just, may I speak to my, can I speak to my amendment?
You can.
I'm happy to. Well, no. Sorry.
I knew this.
Yeah.
You have to ask if Councillor Brompton accepts it.
Councillor Brompton?
It probably depends on some of the
Yeah.
discussions. Will we go to questions first and then can we do that?
No, not on this point,
changes.
though. So the
Okay.
amendment needs to be considered. So I'll second the amendment.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Now can I speak, councillor O'Neill?
Yes, yeah, well, Mayor, she can, but it's your meeting, but. Yep.
You can speak now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just getting that process right. The reason I'm amending point 4 is because I think we discussed this a lot at our briefing and we're definitely tidying up our last program. But I also, for me as a councillor, I don't believe I have all the information to make the decision that we actually go ahead with the Maranoa Childcare Bursary program in the format that it is. At this moment, I know that the Mayor has been speaking to some of the childcare providers. I haven't, or I don't know if Council has, but we haven't heard back what those discussions were. So I would just like to amend it to what I have on the screen, just so that we can hear back from those discussions that have been happening around, and then put forward the childcare bursary program to the budget for the next year's budget, rather than just running with it today.
Do you think we might just have a fairly, another briefing on it? You want another briefing?
I think there is a lot of work to be done in this field. Well, for me personally as councillor, before I commit that it would just go ahead as it stands.
Yeah. Okay.
So change that 4 to consider the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Program for 25-26 as part of the 25-26 budget deliberations.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, you've got to
Yes.
accept.
So now,
Oh, yeah.
Mayor, now, yeah, but that it's now a live amendment, so you'll need seek a speaker against the amendment.
Yes. Does anyone want to speak against?
Can
I
just
just want to confirm that opening April, we're not doing that anymore.
No.
Thank you.
That was my question, just for the staff, on behalf of the staff there, councillors there, and obviously point 3 as well. You know, it says adopt the Maranoa Childcare Bursary Framework. It sounds like I'm hearing that you want it brought back to that the actual childcare bursary and the actual 25-26 program be brought back to a council brief.
Yes,
Is that what I'm
please.
hearing?
Yes, please. Because we've got to adopt that framework, because that was part of the other one. But yes, you're right, CEO. It's probably, I'd probably put it on 4. It's we need to adopt that. We need to adopt that framework to match up with what's happened,
For what's, yeah.
Kel. So it's probably leave that.
And we can do a new one if required as part of.
Yeah, and consider the Maranoa Childcare Bursary program, including framework.
Yeah.
You can just add it on the top if you like, Kel. Yep, including framework for the 25-26.
Including revised framework or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Framework for 2025, 25-26 as part of the 25-26 budget deliberations.
Mayor, as the seconder of the amendment, I'm happy with that.
Thank you. Would you like to talk to it?
So you're talking to the amendment or talking to the original motion now?
I'm talking to the amendment because it's alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy to speak to the amendment.
Does Councillor Hancock want to speak to the amendment?
Oh, I already have.
Oh, you already have,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, councillor?
I'm supporting this amendment for a couple of reasons. One, I think we need to have a look at how the program ran last year, and we're obviously rectifying some challenges in this space in rolling this out. We've got to see what outcome and hopefully a positive one this bursary has on addressing some of the local issues we're facing in terms of childcare. Similar to Councillor Hancock, the Mayor and I have had some discussions with some of the childcares. There's been other discussions with some of the childcares in town as well. I think we need to come together and have a look holistically at what some of our options may be to address and support the childcare providers in our centre to overcome what has been an issue in providing spaces for kids to access these facilities. So I think just pausing for a moment in us having a good look at this is the right step, and so I'm happy to support the amendment.
Councillor, just a point of clarification there, just for the staff doing the minutes there, just point 4 and point 5 are fairly similar there.
Point 4's gone.
Point 4's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I
It's-
thought.
Point 5 is the
Thanks,
new
Carol.
point 4. Yeah.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Davis.
I'd just like to thank the staff and in particular Officer Tennille for, taking this challenge on, which, has been a mountain of work to work back. And I'm sure that the recipients will be thankful for all your hard work and that council gets to support people that are endeavouring to undertake education in the childcare sector. So thank you to staff.
Councillor Brogan.
Yeah, I'm supportive. I think it has been a mountain of work, so congratulations to staff. But it's a long time coming. I know we started last term and no one's picked up on it, but these tweaks will make it better to get people through the system. And it is a high need that childcare needs in the town. So hopefully, or in the district. So hopefully everyone supports this.
Councillor Vincent.
I haven't spoken to my motion yet.
Your motion's not live now.
Doesn't the amendment become the motion?
Yeah, the
It is,
amendment.
okay.
Did you accept it?
No,
I'm
that's
confused by
not.
this
Sorry,
process.
Councillor, that's not right. At the moment, we're debating the amendment put forward by Councillor Hancock and seconded by me.
Yeah, that's right.
So and then if that fails, it's back to yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
It reverts. Yeah.
Yeah, we vote on the amendment,
Yeah.
and if that doesn't
And then
come up, we can.
And then we vote on the other.
Yeah.
That's
Councillor,
correct.
Councillor Vincent,
Yeah, I'll
you right?
vote.
Yep. Anyone else like to speak on this motion? Did you want to sum up?
No, thanks.
Okay,
No,
let's
this
go
is
to the
just-
vote.
This is just voting on the amendment.
Yes. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0.
You want to have a practice run?
So now we're voting on the whole Councillor Brumpton's original motion.
This now becomes the motion, and the mayor looks for a speaker for and against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you like to speak for the motion, Councillor
Can I-
Brompton?
Yes, I'll only speak for the initial part of it because we've spoken about the amendment which is going forward.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the applicants who applied for this 2024 bursary and apologise on behalf of council for the lack of progress of this. I have been approached by a number of people regarding this who hadn't heard about their applications. So, we really need to apologise to those people. We thought we had no applicants, but it was a system error and there were people who applied. So I think it's good, in good faith, that we're giving those people under the conditions that were in place at the time, we're considering their bursaries based on that. And then we'll look then moving forward as to what is the way to go. But thank the staff for the work they've done to locate all this and get things cleared up for those ones that applied under the previous process, and look forward to seeing the outcome of how they've gone and then how we can better the process hopefully in going forward.
And just so you know, I did write to them personally as well. So, so Tennille's done her bit and I've done mine, and we did apologise as much as we possibly could. So moving forward, we'll work on doing that better. So that's all good. But yeah, Tennille, thank you very much. I know it was a mountain of work, so thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Vincent.
Yeah, I'm going to support this today. It is a great initiative for the childcare shortage in our community to hopefully get some more staffing on the ground. Thank you to the staff for working in the background there to find the issues that occurred when this program was rolled out, and also for establishing the framework to give some boundaries around this for us. So I'll be supporting this today.
Anybody else like to speak?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Not going to change anything, it's just a question. Through you, Mayor. Just with the framework that we've endorsed today, Just a bit of clarification. Where it says, sorry, councillors, it is on the second page of the report down the bottom, if that helps. As advertised, there is also opportunity for applicants who have successfully completed and received the bursary for a bachelor or diploma to apply for a retention bursary program after 3 years of service within the Maranoa. Because I think it's, that's great that we're investing in getting people to stay and work in the industry. Just clarifying, is that 3 years from the point of, some people will already be working in the industry right now, getting the bursary and doing their studies. Is it start from when they start working in the industry? Is it the application date or is it from when they finish their diploma or bachelor and they are then beginning to work in the industry?
Through the chair, it probably would be recommended that they should have completed. Through the chair, it would be recommended that they have to complete their studies before the
It's a
3 years
3 years
start.
after
Yeah, so
study.
once they've received their, whether it's a bachelor or their degree, they then need to work 3 years, continuous 3 years within the childcare sector within the Maranoa to be able to receive that. However,
Is it actually on that?
saying that?
Down in that memo.
Sorry, Tanil, however.
Sorry. However, in saying that, since a lot of time has lapsed, there could very well be applicants that have already completed their degree or bachelor, so they will be, their 3-year eligibility would have started from the date they completed their bachelor, which could have been last year, but until I get their agreements in, I won't know for sure when their 3 years sort of starts.
Can we just tidy that up? I note that it's in our framework. It's eligibility criteria number 3, and it's point 7. For the retention bursary, applicants must have been continuously employed in the Maranoa childcare sector for at least 3 years. That doesn't say. I think I've written here it should be while studying or after study. Like it should be continuous 3 years after they finish their study. And I just think we need to tighten that up because we've worked so hard to try and get all this tightened. It's probably a little loophole that, could be people don't know the intention of it.
So it's just
with
probably
councils,
moving the last line of the structure, because it's in the structure, moving it down to the eligibility criteria maybe. Because there is a line where you've stated they must be completed. They have completed 3 years of service since the completion date of their diploma or bachelor degree.
complete 3 years of service since the completion date of their diploma. This 3 years. Oh yeah, I guess it's in the bursary structure. It's just not in the eligibility. All right. I'm happy. It's clear in there.
It's in there, yeah.
And we can tidy that up when the framework comes back.
Yeah.
As long as the intention's clear from the council's point of view.
Righto. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0.
I'll be excused.
Thanks, Pete. Councillor Flynn has left the room. 14.4, concept design for the Injune Museum external wall. Councillor Vincent.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on item 14.4, the concept design for the Injune Museum external wall. The declaring councillor is myself. The related party is my mother, Janice Humphreys. Janice is the secretary of the CHIPS, who are mentioned in the report. It is a prescribed conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Vincent has left the room. Do I have a mover? Councillor Brompton.
I'll move that council approve the concept design attached and approve to go to manufacturer stage.
Have a seconder?
Maybe a second. I've just got a question. I have two questions. One of them is, it's a bit hard to see the picture, but is it just exactly pulling out that section of that map and that's what they're putting on the wall?
Through the chair, basically, yes. There have been a few little things removed from the drive trail because the drive trail does have all your little lines and things, so it's just the main concept of the drive trail, so the main roads, rather than pulling out all the little drive trail routes that you can take on the drive trail map.
to follow up from that, is it the dingo barrier fence, the other one?
That's correct, yes.
Is that on there as well?
The dingo barrier fence?
Yeah.
Not on the drive trail map
No,
itself.
but I mean, is it going to be on the wall?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right.
Because it's a lot of timber stuff's going to be like sawmill stuff in there. So the significance of the dingo barrier, I don't think it's come up before in.
No, so the reason they went with the dingo barrier fence, we don't actually have a Di Gibson artwork around the timber industry. So the dingo barrier fence was the most closest relating object to the Injune district.
Yep.
The first design that we were given was actually the Cobb and Co coach. However, that relates too much to Surat, not Injune. So they decided to change that to put it with the dingo barrier fence instead.
And it's just to personalise it for Injune because it's on the Injune thing. You know, they had that separate bit, which is part of the Di Gibson artwork, but because it's on the Injune Museum, like I said, that when they first had it, there was the Cobb and Co thing, which wasn't really personalised to Injune, and like you said, there's no timber stuff in the Di Gibson stuff. However, as the museum progresses, they'll obviously have a timber component, and who knows where we can go in terms of, you know, signage or whatever around that as well.
Councillor Hancock, did you have another question?
I did. Just noting that there's no budget requirements, but in the report it says the estimated cost of this project is $25,200 and the quote provides chips with a budget buffer of $9,800. Where's the money coming from?
Through the chair, they received a gambling benefit fund for this project, which they did get back in 2022. So they have had quite a number of extensions on this project, but there's no cost to council as the grant they were given was $35,000, so it covers the whole project.
35.
Yep.
So they've got a bit up their sleeve.
And they've really got to get this through because they've had so many extensions on that gambling thing.
Anybody else got questions? Councillor Davis.
I'm just wondering if the original intent was just that we approve the concept design, but we're approving it to go to the manufacture stage. Isn't that with chips and whatever manufactured they've selected and whatever materials that they're manufacturing on? Could the resolution just be that council approves the concept design attached?
Well,
it is.
So we have to approve them to progress though, because it's on a council, you know, we've had this discussion about it's on a council building, so we've approved the design, but we probably need to approve them to progress though, don't we? Because it's then affixed to a council building.
I don't believe it's locking us in to do the actual progress it.
Yeah.
But to progress the actual manufacture, I think the intent of the resolution was the council approving the design, and then we're actually approving
them to progress.
So maybe you say approve the chips group to go to the manufacture stage if you want to add that extra word in.
Oh, look, I'm happy with as it stands if that's the intent of it, since it's a council building. I didn't pick that up from the resolution.
You're right, a resolution should be able to read in isolation, should be able to read the resolution. So if you wanted to add, and approve, whether it's the chips group or whatever, to go to the manufacture
Improve the
stage.
installation.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's more where we would be approving the installation on the facility.
Yeah.
Like the council approved the concept design attached and the installation.
That council 1 approved the concept design attached, 2 approved the installation.
Who's well, they've got the grant to install it on the building, so it's and approve chips to install, so it's very clear to our community who's installing it.
Or approve chips to proceed with manufacture and install, and then it's very clear. It makes sense.
Manufacture stage and installation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, so that council 1 approved the concept design attached, and 2 approved chips to proceed with manufacture and installation. That's amended.
Did I have Councillor Hancock, you seconded? Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Brumpton?
Briefly, I will. Obviously, the CHIPS group has been working very hard for a long period of time and wasn't getting any traction because they were looking to complete the whole project in one go. they're now working on progressing in stages, and obviously this first stage with the community benefit fund availability and the fact that they would lose that if they didn't do something with that soon. They've progressed this component of the project, and we'll see more in future budget discussions as they progress.
Councillor Hancock, did you want to speak?
Yes, I do. Yeah, this is an exciting project. I really love the Diane Gibson artwork, and the Drive Trail artwork has been used quite a lot around the region. It is owned by council, and therefore its community can use it. And so I just am really glad to see this going on the outside of the building. I think it will look amazing, and I look forward to seeing it installed.
Anybody else like to speak? Councillor
Yeah, I just to follow on from the fellow councillors, I think it is a great addition because it's a start. We've got a wonderful building that was put in last term, and just slowly progressing to get the pieces here and there. And I think this is a great start on the outside to fill in a blank wall for one. But yeah, I look forward to the next lot of additions that they come up with.
Yeah, I'd like to see us get inside the door, but we'll start with the outside. Okay, does anyone else like to speak? Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
7-0. Thank you. Thanks, Tanil.
Thanks, Greg.
Is Jane in there?
No, I think she went out there. Okay, it's not there yet.
Councillor Vincent is back. Hello, Kate. How are you going? You got enough? Oh, yes, we have met you before? Yes. Yes. Right. Okay, let's go with 14.5, development application material change of use, undefined use, domestic outbuilding, 220-224 Bassett Lane, Roma, reference 2024/21299. Do I have a mover, or do I have anyone with questions?
Probably still need a mover just to start the debate. Just need a mover for starting the debate anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Someone like to move? Councillor Burkett.
Yeah, I'm happy to move. Nothing's changed. It's all of that. So nothing's changed, has it?
No.
I can read from here. I'd like to move that the development application for material change of use, undefined use, domestic shed located at 220-224 Bassett Lane, Roma, Queensland 4455, described as Lot 24 on SP 282628, to be approved subject to the list of conditions and general advice listed below.
I have a seconder. Councillor Hancock. Would you like to speak, councillor?
No, thanks.
Would anybody like to speak? No, we have pure faith. All those in favour?
Yes.
The staff did a great report. It was all the information was here.
8-0, thank you. Thank you, girls. Yes, great report. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Is that there?
Hang around for more
No,
thing with
okay.
Councillor
We
Blair.
go. We just move on to the late. L1, addressing the spread of lovegrass in Maranoa region. Councillor Burkett.
Yes, I'd like to move that Council 1 lobby to get all types of lovegrass on the list of weeds of national significance. 2, hold a briefing on lovegrass to get factual details on all aspects of lovegrass, including characteristics and potential impact on the environment, economy and the Maranoa region generally. 3, be provided with up-to-date and comprehensive fact sheet information to be made available to all affected people in the wider community and interested parties, including staff.
Seconder. Councillor Vincent, would you like to speak, councillor?
Yes, we spoke about this the other day. To me, it's a long-term problem, and I think it's going to be in the future still a long-term problem. But and I'm not downplaying Parthenium by any means. I know there's a lot of people affected, but to me, this affects more areas of our community as a whole, whether it's road reserves, town streets, parks and gardens, sporting fields, footpaths, and house yards. So I think it's important that we can educate and as a whole get it on the list so we can get some support from the government. Education to the staff, I think, is very important. I think there's a lot of people on staff that probably don't even know what it is. It does seem to grow a lot quicker than the average lawn. So if we can educate those on how to contain it, whether it's on the road reserve and a drain or it's on the town street, would be most beneficial, I think.
Can I just ask Councillor Seawright, has this come up in your biosecurity yet?
Hasn't come up in our biosecurity yet because we're yet to have
We
a
haven't
full
started.
meeting. I'd happily like to speak to it as well. Like I do support that we support the motion, the fact that we do, just need to have some roundtable discussions around it. A briefing would be great involving the rural lands. Just also to note that the African lovegrass has been nominated as a nationally significant weed, and it's just sitting there as in an assessment along with many other weeds, so that has been nominated. Doesn't include all varieties of lovegrass, just the African version of it. But yeah, happy for this to be one of the first things that's also discussed in the Biosecurity Advisory Committee.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Davis.
I just have some questions around the lobbying to get all types of lovegrass on the list. From my quick Google, there's lots of species and that. What are we actually referring to, and what does the support from the government look like? And what does lobbying entail?
Oh, just to get it on, I think Councillor Vincent might have said the other day, she's even approached, there's a lot of people probably wanting it to get there, and if someone can help direct that into the right direction to get it to where it will be recognised, like Parthenium, and if there's any funding out there to put towards eradication or even education on it would be good. The lobbying, just as a council as a whole, is probably going to be a bit more weight behind it than just an individual that's looking to get it. And the advisory group might jump on this and be a bigger power as well, like a driving force. But I just think it's a starting point if we can get it at a briefing and flush out a few things. And it's just been a thing that a lot of people, it's a big concern. And I drive the roads every day and just see it, and it's a bugbear.
Well, John, Councillor Burkett, if that is your intention, would you be happy to amend the motion that we hold a briefing? And
that's why I've got to hold a briefing.
But we're also lobbying all types that love grass and the weeds. Like, is the first step to hold a briefing, and then actions would fall out of that to a council?
Oh, it can, yeah, but I do want whether it's after an advisory meeting or that council do. I still want that as the intent that we do lobby that. So.
That was my question too. Not knowing, because
I've
there's
got a
so many
question
types
too.
of lovegrass, and I know we've got lovegrass on our place, so I absolutely support that something needs to be done. But not having the full briefing and understanding all the different types and what the issues are, the lobbying happens after we've had that.
Well, it can be on there, and then potential lobbying after.
Depending on the outcome.
Director Jamie has something.
Yeah, through the Mayor, I'd just like to, I suppose, make some suggestions as to the steps we could take, because this is something we're going to have to work through in a fairly methodical manner, and it's around the issue that some types of lovegrass are actually native species versus others that are invasives. So I would suggest that the first step we could do to initiate the process is to get our rural lands team to actually sample some of the core infestations and send them off to the herbarium, so we can actually identify down to species level which are the most invasive types of lovegrass, and obviously African lovegrass will be one, but there are a couple of others as well. And that way we can then have meaningful dialogue with with the Biosecurity Queensland branch of DPI, and also with weeds of national significance around which ones are having the biggest impact on us. The other component is we do actually obviously have a Parthenium management plan, a Parthenium management strategy, and whilst they're labelled Parthenium, implementation of most of the procedures in those will also go a long way to limiting further lovegrass, because it essentially spreads the same way. So there's a couple of steps we can do there, Councillor Burkett, which will get that process underway. And I'd suggest we need to do the samples first, because the first question we'll get, and I know this, when we take it away to state and federal agencies is, what species is it? Because if it's a native, we're not interested. So you do actually have to go there, with that information in hand. We can do that in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do we need to put that in the resolution?
I think sort of briefing on the lovegrass to get factual details. Well, that factual details would be from the sampling anyway, so we could I think it probably covers it there, is that factual details, that would be the sampling. So I think the intention was to bring it back to the brief on lovegrass, get the factual details and the aspects of lovegrass, so we can do the sampling, because it is that African lovegrass is the one that we're hearing from the public.
Well, and I suppose, and to be honest, the sampling will bring that up, but there is, I think there's a couple of different ones out and about, definitely.
Yeah, there certainly are.
So I think your sampling will be covered under get the factual details. So I think your resolution does cover it, so we can do that.
So just
move 1 to 2 and 2 back up to.
Yeah, and just say potential lobbying subject to outcomes of the.
Yeah, and not all types to get instead of all types, it's the problematic invasive. Yeah, because you can't obviously put a native on a weed of national significance.
I don't think we can say potentially lobby. That doesn't give our staff any direction.
Well, it depends what comes out of it.
Can I make a suggestion through the mayor that you drop number 1 altogether and just have 2 and 3, add a third, which would be in a further report will be provided at an upcoming council meeting, because that then you can strengthen where that lobbying goes and where the advocacy goes, because it might be government, it could be NRMs, it could be a myriad of organisations we want to go to. It's just it's too early, I think, just to have a blanket lobby, because we just don't know what we're going to do yet. I recognise this is a major issue, particularly for the African lovegrass, but I just think if you have lobbying in there, it just won't go anywhere. In that first instance, it will when it comes back and we put some bones around it.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it brings it back to the table.
Yeah.
No, we can be specific.
All right, has anybody else got any comments? Any questions? Would you like to sum up, councillor?
Did anyone else speak?
Oh, no one spoke. Did anybody speak?
I think
I spoke. And Councillor Seawright.
Did you? Yeah. Sorry, I thought you. Yeah. No. Just. I know it probably was jumping the gun with that first one. I don't want people to think that we're not going to, get on the front foot with it. It is, because to me it is a big problem, and there is issues like Parthenium and lovegrass and Ericius cactus seem to be the one with millions and millions of seeds in them. They're the ones that people are naive with. So I think that's what we got. Education to me is a big thing, but hopefully everyone supports it.
Mm-hmm. All right, with that we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. We might just adjourn for morning tea?
Yeah.
All right, we'll reopen the meeting and we're on to L2, which is the location of the Injune's wedged tail eagle sculpture. Oh, Councillor Vincent, sorry, yep.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on item L.2, location of Injune's wedge-tail eagle sculpture. The declaring councillor is myself. The person with the interest is my mother, Janice Humphreys. The particulars of interest is the sculpture has been recommended for installation outside the Injune Museum. CHIPS have a management agreement with council for the Injune Museum, and Janice is the secretary of CHIPS. It is a declarable conflict of interest. Although I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have perception of bias, as the matter is not a project of CHIPS. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Councillor Brumpton.
I move that it is in the public interest that Councillor Vincent participates and votes on agenda item L2, because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
Seconder. Councillor Seawright. All those in favour? Not you.
Sorry.
Councillor O'Neill, you there?
Sorry, I didn't hit unmute. Yes.
7-0. Right. Back to the location of the Injune wedge-tail eagle sculpture. Do we have a mover? Councillor Vincent.
I'd like to move that Council 1, receive and note the feedback received throughout both survey rounds. 2, select location 2 outside the Injune Museum as the preferred site for the installation of the sculpture. And 3, consider the installation of the wedge-tail eagle sculpture as part of the financial year 25-26 budget deliberations.
I have a seconder. Councillor Brompton. Anyone got any questions? I just got a question. So the eagle was purchased by the Injune Arts and they've given it to council.
Correct.
And we went out to consultation to find out what the Injune community wanted, where they wanted to put it. Yes.
Yes, correct. The first round was done when Injune Arts still owned the sculpture, which was the round where it was decided that the multi-purpose precinct would be the preferred location, and then the second round was done after Injune Arts had gifted it to council.
And that survey we went out with council, there was 2 locations, location 1, location 2, and then the third option was other, just in case you wanted to nominate
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I've had
Just
plenty-
struggling to hear you a bit there, Rob.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I might be leaning too far from the microphone, sorry, councillor.
Yeah, so that's good. I just want to make sure, because there was a bit of, I was asked the question, why isn't it being put on like the main road, so that like sculptures is on the main road in Roma, so everyone can stop and look. So wouldn't that be, smart to do it for Injune? But it's the community that have decided, so happy with that. That's all good. Thanks, Lee. Did you want to speak, councillor?
I'll speak.
Yep.
Yep. I'll support this one today. We have done extensive communication and get feedback from the community of Injune. I do note the concerns around it not being on the main road like the Roma one. The places considered did have some downfalls to it. The location at the museum, from the street view, when you're on the footpath, it's very clear looking down through to this location that's been selected. Just for other councillors, why I haven't included the amount that was stipulated. I'm not too sure if we've, because we were to find out about the acknowledgement plaques, and I just didn't know if that was in the budget, so I'd just prefer to see it come back as a business case with like the full costings there, just to make sure we've got those if we need those acknowledgement plaques or whatever. So yeah, it'd be great to get this installed when it does come back.
Anyone else like to speak?
I just have a question.
Yeah, councillor.
To Councillor Vincent. Well, I guess probably through the CEO, actually, to Director Lee. When we say in this recommendation, select location 2 outside the Injune Museum as preferred site, well, it's not the preferred site, it's going to be as the site for the installation. Do you know exactly where to put that? Do you know that the intent of council might be that if you get out of your car at the main road and you're looking through to there, that you'll be able to see the sculpture? Does that give you that direction?
Certainly, the image that we used in the survey round would be what I would be guided by, but I think that final location, we'd certainly look on site just to maximise that viewing angle from the street.
In that, that's right, in that. From the other direction too. Community consultation, the council approved to go out, it actually had the actual location specifically on there, so that's what the committee were asked to comment on, so if...
That's true. I guess I'm just... Councillor Vincent, as your idea is that you'd be able to see it, like I guess you're saying that you would look at it, that you could be able to see it from the road in and,
Yeah, certainly
the
it
best
would be...
viewing, I guess, from the road.
I think that it'll have to be, just from an operational point of view, is to, making sure the garden's going to be mowable around, not difficult to keep that area tidy.
The trouble is if you go too far onto the path side, it's going to be a hazard for people walking or moving.
Yeah, so it's...
Common sense will prevail.
You right?
Yeah, I'd like to talk.
Yep.
I'll support this. As Councillor Vincent said, we have had thorough community consultation, and it is a beautiful piece of art that's going to Injune. I'm really excited that it's going there. But for me, I'm supporting this recommendation because it was what the community has chosen for the place for it to be.
Councillor Brompton.
The same, just reinforcing other councillors and also the community. I know there was some angst in the first consultation round, and interestingly, even though the majority did vote for in that location. Then some of the alternate suggestions were again off-site, but obviously the majority just is the museum out of that. But we've already discussed previous issues and the reason it was actually donated to us, and I think it will be just great to get this in place and sorted for the community. Not recognising the fact though we still have to look at budget in our consideration. At least we've got somewhere to aim for and get it finalised for the community.
Anyone else like to speak? Would you like to sum up, councillor?
No, I think it's all been said.
Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Someone like to move us into close? Thanks, Lee. Thanks.
Thanks.
I can do that.
Councillor Brompton?
In accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, I move that Council resolves to close the meeting to the public at 11:18 a.m. to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider is necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. Agenda item C1, request for write-off water usage fees 14021307. Item C2, request for tender 25024, restoration of essential public assets, flood damage, Cattle Creek Road floodway and Mount Saltbush Road culvert bridges. Reconstruction works. Sorry, that was all part of that thing. C3, Queensland Government Country Roads Connect program, consideration of project nominations. LC1, Roma Sale Yards Cafe Management Agreement. LC2, Tender 25025, RMPC Stabilisation Program 2024-25, Tender Construction and Contract Award.
Consideration.
Tender Consideration and Contract Award. What did I say? Sorry.
Construction.
Oh, okay.
Which would probably fit as well. Okay, we'll have a seconder. Councillor Burkett, all those in favour?
Okay.
Yes.
8-0.
Hey, we both got our jobs taken off us then, mate.
Okay, we're now enclosed.
I move that closed.
Say seconder. Councillor Hancock, all those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Right. Just waiting for Councillor Burkett to come back in the room. He's right, he's just talking.
Sorry.
Righto, let's go. C1, request for write-off water usage fees 14021307. Councillor Brompton.
I move that Council 1 approve the write-off to the value of $322.40 for water consumption charges, which is the equivalent of 50% of the water consumption for the period in recognition of the water leak being as a result of Council's actions. 2, advise the ratepayer that a credit of $322.40 will be applied to rate assessment 14021307.
Seconded by Councillor Burkett. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
This was a fairly complex issue that involved a couple of different issues for the ratepayer, and I'm suggesting that we approve the 50% in a gesture of good faith because of the issues that were incurred by the ratepayer.
Anyone else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Making us hold out there, councillor. C2, request for tender 25024, restoration of essential public assets, flood damage, Cattle Creek Road floodway and Mount Saltbush culvert bridges reconstruction works. Do I have a mover? Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I'd like to move an alternative resolution that Council 1 select HBS Earth Moving as the preferred tenderer for separate portion 1, Cattle Creek Road for tender 25024, restoration of public assets, Cattle Creek Road, floodway and Mount Saltbush Road culvert bridges, reconstruction works for an estimated contract sum of $79,090 exclusive of GST. 2, select Durack Civil Construction as the preferred tenderer for separate portions 2 and 3, Mount Saltbush Road, 2 sites for tender 25024, restoration of public assets, Cattle Creek Road floodway and Mount Saltbush Road culvert bridges reconstruction works for a contract sum of $780,289.11 exclusive of GST. 3, authorise
The CEO, it should say,
or
delegate.
authorise CEO or delegate to enter into final negotiations with HBS Earth Moving and Durack Civil Pty Ltd and form contracts to carry out the works if final terms are acceptable. 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate the delegation to order variations up to the value of the approved Queensland Reconstruction Authority project budget.
I have a seconder. Councillor Brumpton. Would you like to speak, councillor?
Just that this is a good opportunity for council to support a small local business in advancing their knowledge of higher work. I think this is a good outcome for the council and the businesses that have tendered. So I'd just like to provide. Oh yeah, that would be. Councillor.
Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Davis, but also any chance we can get to, repair or upgrade our floodways is a great thing, because the road could be immune for anyone to drive along, but if these crossings aren't up to scratch, well, that stops anyone from conducting their business or getting to town. So, no, fully supportive.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else like to speak? Would you like to sum up, councillor?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. You have a statement of reason?
Yes, please. The statement of reason, the tender work packages have been awarded to separate contractors to support the development of local business.
Thank you. C3, Queensland Government Country Roads Connect Program, consideration of project nominations. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that council apply for funding under the Queensland Government's I move that council 1 apply for funding under the Queensland Government's Country Roads Connect program for Project 3 Yulbar-Surratt Road, approximately 3.5 kilometres of additional bitumen sealing, and 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer, CEO or authorised delegate to sign the funding agreement if the application is successful.
Have a seconder? Councillor Vincent, would you like to speak, councillor?
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Excuse me, Councillor Hancock, there was a alternative resolution to take that from 3.5 to 7 kilometres.
Oh, could you scroll down? Thanks, Councillor Seawright. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Through the Mayor, obviously that was discussed as a potential option. I'd recommend probably the 3.5 at this stage, just to keep it within within probably the program that's been announced. So, yeah.
Yep, sure.
If that's okay. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Thank you. It's always exciting when you get the opportunity to apply for funding to put bitumens on roads, and I'm supporting this recommendation today because I think that it will provide us an opportunity to really put some kilometres on the Surratt Yulbar Road that's bitumened. It will save us money if we can be able to do it at the same time that we already have a project that's putting some bitumen down, and it will provide that opportunity for that road just to get that little bit more bitumen as we go along. That road is used a lot by a lot of not only heavy vehicles but by our tourists and our locals. But the heavy vehicles that go across that road is a major connection from Surat across to Condamine Highway for all the feedlots, being cattle or grain. So to be able to get some funding to continue to develop the Yilbah Surat Road is gold, really. I do support other roads in the region, but they have to be shovel ready for this project, and this road is shovel ready and ready to go.
Anyone else like to speak? Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. We'll move on to the late. LC1, Roma Salyards Cafe Management Agreement. Do I have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the transfer of manager for the Roma Salyards Cafe Management Agreement. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to transfer the current Roma Salyards Cafe Management Agreement to the new owner ending 16th of December 2025. 3, advise the new tenant of the prior agreement for the use of the kitchen at the Great Australian Cattle Drive event on the 6th of August 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Brumpton. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
No, thanks.
Anyone like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. LC2, Tender 25025, RMPC Stabilisation Program 2024-25, Tender Consideration and Contract Award. Do I have a mover? Councillor Vincent.
I move that Council 1 select Cooper McCulloch Group Proprietary Limited as the recommended tender for tender RFT 25027 2024-25 RMPC Stabilisation Program. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with Cooper McCulloch Group Proprietary Limited, noting a contract sum value of $799,910 excluding GST. And A, work with the contractor with a view to maximise local investment where possible. And B, execute the contract if the final terms are acceptable. 3, authorise Council's nominated superintendent to order contract variations up to the value of the approved RMPC budget allocation, noting the nature of the works and the variability associated with pavement rehabilitation delivery.
I have a seconder. Councillor Davis, would you like to speak, Councillor?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Anyone like to speak? All right, let's go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. That's all we've got for today, so I thank you all, and I'll close the meeting at 12:51 p.m.